We'd like to call the December 2021 committee meetings of the Hamlet County Legislative Body to order. Want to remind the commissioners, if you've not done so, please turn on your mics. And then also I want to remind the audience that when you address the committees, please address only the items on that committee's agenda. At this time, Commissioner and Chairman DeBoard of the Finance Committee, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to call the Finance Committee to order. Do we have any visitors that would like to address the committee?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
My name's Edna Green. I live at 4981 Cameron Road, Morristown. When I went over your packets tonight, I did not see billing from your Hamlin County attorney. When I called to inquire, they said it wasn't there and it wouldn't be there to commission meeting. Nor would he be here because he's out of town. My question is, if you folks don't show up for work, do you get paid? It's something you need to change. He needs to earn his money. It's not right for him to take it away from the Hamlin County citizens. And it's poor business for somebody to contract you and not have the courtesy to submit their billing on time. He had 30 God blessed days. If you fail to show up for work for 30 days, would you get paid? Would your business run itself? Thank you.
Anyone else that would like to address the committee? Seeing none in your packets, you've got the expenditure reports. Line 3A, line 3B is review and acceptance of the monthly checks. Do we have a motion to accept?
So moved.
We got a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Do we have any further discussion? If not, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition, like sign? Motion carries. In old business, there is none. In new business, resolution of the County Commission of Hamlin County, Tennessee, approving an economic impact plan for the Bellwood Farms development area. Jay Monaghan, I hope I've said that right. If you could, give us a bit of an explanation about this.
How you doing? Thank you for having me. My name is Jay Moneyhunt. I'm an attorney with Fastberry and Sims in Knoxville, Tennessee, and we serve as special counsel to the Industrial Development Board for this particular TIF and for prior TIFs that the board has considered and the County Commission has considered. This is a project. We have here with me Frank McGuffin with the developer, and then Marshall Ramsey, who's the secretary of the Industrial Development Board. This economic impact plan was prepared at the request of the board, the Industrial Development Board. We have presented it to the Industrial Development Board, and it was approved and passed on to City Council and County Commission for your consideration. It's for a retail development. I'm sure Mr. McGuffin will be happy to answer any questions you have about the actual project. And then I'm happy to answer any questions you might have on how the actual tax increment financing works, but this would be a 10-year TIF, so the incremental taxes produced from this development would be subject to allocation to go back to the Industrial Development Board to help pay for public infrastructure to support this project. Only a portion of the property taxes that result from the development are subject to allocation. The base taxes that are the taxes that are currently paid on this property still go to the city and county and are not subject to allocation, as well as what's called the debt service portion of the incremental taxes, which is the portion of your property tax rate that goes to pay debt service on your debt. So those amounts stay with the county, and only up to 75% of the incremental taxes, the increased in the property taxes, go to support the project. Again, it's a 10-year period that the taxes would be subject to allocation, and then after that, the full taxes would go to the county. answer any other questions that you might have.
In this plan, it looks like you have $12,334 that's going to the county, and that would still remain with the county completely. So there's no cost we don't lose any tax revenue that's generated that we've been used to accepting. We just are using the increment portion to fund the infrastructure that has to be put in place for this plan to be done, correct?
Yes, sir. It's that portion that is currently paid stays, and then that additional portion, the debt service portion, also will be new taxes that stay with the county that are generated from the project. So you'll actually see a bump in the amounts that you'll receive even during the TIF period.
And it looks like the annual local tax revenue that would be generated from that project is $976,000. And
That's correct. Yeah, there'll be incremental or the local option sales taxes that'll be generated from the project will be increased revenue as well.
then after that 10-year period, it would just go back to a standard taxation level, correct?
Yes, sir.
Do we have a motion to
Okay.
accept?
So moved.
Do we have a second? We got a motion and a second, James Stepp. Do
Discussion.
we have any discussion?
Discussion. You told us a little bit about the taxes, plan, all that good stuff, and I understand that. Can you tell us a little bit, I know you can't name a lot of the stuff, but some of the project, what project you're trying to do right here?
Yes, sir. So there's going to be a frontage on the main road there that'll be retail and restaurants, and then back off of the road behind that will be, I think, a grocery store and another big box retailer.
Where will the main entrance of the development be from 11E?
So,
Excuse me. Good evening. I'm Frank McGowan, part of the Bellwood Farms.
Yeah.
To answer your question, there will be two entrances. Bellwood Road, that intersection is going to be improved and signalized. There'll be a road that runs parallel back east to Kidwell's Ridge, and we will also improve that as well.
Okay.
There will be one right in, right out, as per TDOT's specs.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion? If not, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries. Thank you. Number 5B, budget amendments. Fund 101 for Sheriff's Department, $7,089. Ms. Hurst?
This entry is one that we've had for several years. And it reflects the fact that we have approved supplements for our narcotics officers out of the drug fund. But because this is a salary item, we initially make the payment from Fund 101, since we have the mechanisms in place for payroll taxes and such. And then we reimburse Fund 101 from the drug fund. So it's just the mechanism of how we have to handle this. And so now that we've repaid from the drug fund to 101, we're rebudgeting those funds back into 101, so that those accounts are whole again.
Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Got a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Got a motion and a second, any discussion? If not, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries. Item B2, Fund 101, Planning Department for $990.
This was the result of just basically a mid-year review that, I'm typically doing. And as you remember, we lost an employee in the planning department, and that person was replaced. We estimated as closely as we could at that time, but there were some additional of salary and so forth to pay out, accumulated vacation and that type of thing. So this just makes up for the it just gets that new employee started where they need to be and paying off the old employee,
Do we have a,
former employee.
it's a final payment, correct, Ms. Hurst? Yes.
I'll make that motion.
Got a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Got a second, Thomas? Any discussion? If not, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries. Item 5B3, Fund 101, reappraisal of $635. Ms. Hurst?
This is the same type of entry. We had a long-standing employee in that department that went from a 37.5 hour per week employee to a 30-hour week. And in just trying to estimate when the new person was coming on, and when the, and just making that transition, we need to add a little extra to that, to those accounts.
Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
You got a motion, Mr. Doty? Any further discussion? If not, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries. Item 5B4, Fund 101, Drug Court for $3,500.
And this is where our drug court employee, and we have one, went from single insurance to an insurance where they covered their children. And so this is the county's portion of that.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Got a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Mr. Stepp. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries. Item 5B5, Hamlet County Board of Education, Budget Amendment Number 3, increase of $39,025 for Hamlet County Board of Education. Ms. Antrigan.
With this amendment, the board requests approval of 2 grants. The first grant is an HC Excel Arts grant to provide supplies and professional development for arts programs in the schools. The second grant for $26,525 is a tutoring grant for students through the Niswonger Foundation. I'll be glad to answer any questions you may have.
Do you have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
We got a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Thank you. Motion carries. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Chairman of the Board. Chairman Chris Cutshaw of the Personnel Committee, you're recognized.
I'd like to call the Personnel Committee meeting to order. Is there any visitors that would like to address this committee? You have 5 minutes to do. Seeing none. Item 3A, old business, we have none. Item 4A, approval of education pay submissions. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Thank you.
Second.
And a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passed. Item 4B, approval of military pay submissions.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Goins.
Second.
Mr. Horner, thank you, sir. All approved? Say
Aye.
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 Item 5A, we have none. Mr. Chairman, that's all we have.
Thank you, Chairman Cutshaw. At this time, Chairman Tim Goins of the Public Service Committee, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chairman. I call the Public Service Committee to order. Anybody who wishes to speak? Not seeing any. Item 4A, Hamlet County Sheriff Department surplus items. Captain Mullins. Okay.
What it amounts to, my understanding, is the surplus of 5 vehicles, one being a 2012 Charger, 2 others being 13 Dodge Chargers, and 2 Ford Explorers, with mileage anywhere from 134,000 to 176,000.
Can you tell us what's wrong with these vehicles?
2 of the Chargers, one of them has front end cradle underneath that would cost over $3,000 to repair. Another one burns oil. The other one's a former jail car, which is the 2012. It's got 176,000 on it. The two Explorers both have interior damage and also exterior body damage. And one of those is 164,000 miles on it.
Okay. All in favor of this request, make a motion by saying aye.
Let's get a motion.
Motion.
Second.
Any other discussion?
I'm not a member of the committee, but I have a question. Is there any way, under the recommendation of the county, I get this, or the sheriff's department, is any of these vehicles viable for something else? Or you just think it's too high maintenance to keep? I mean, are you familiar with that?
One of these Explorers that's on here, narcotics needs right now to be used, so they're gonna take it.
Okay.
As far as the other ones, I wouldn't recommend it.
Okay, that's what I want to hear.
And
Thank
they
you.
also, again, we took their 2012 Dodge Charger and gave them a different one with lower miles and in better condition to use as a transport car also.
Thank you.
Okay. All in favor, make a motion by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Item 4B. Item 4B, resolution request to apply for urban transportation planning grant, for SR 160 corridor. Mayor Brett?
The resolution pertains to the corridor, the 160 corridor from West AJ Highway, right there at McDonald's, all the way to intersection with the Interstate 81. And what the idea is that we've had a couple of fatalities at the intersection of MLK and 160, and also at 25E and 160. And with the elementary school being built at Martin Luther King Boulevard and some other residential developments going on around there, is that our regional transportation planning organization, LAMPTO, believes that we need to do what's called a corridor study. And that study would provide, I guess, a risk assessment of the intersections and also possible solutions for those. The state in this grant will pay 90% of the study, and then a local partnership between the city, the county, and the school system would pay the 10% match. And for the total study not to exceed $200,000. And we being the county, would be the lead agency. That's why I'm coming to you to apply for the grant.
So would that be to consider a stop sign, a stoplight there? Or how would you said 25 and 60, 160?
25 and 160. I mean, that could be one of the recommendations. It'd be doing the study to find out if that's the best way to handle it.
What would you do at Martin Luther King? That's a horrible spot right there.
The TDOT, Representative Eldridge and I and a city representative met with TDOT there about a month ago. And they've started working on alternatives. And there's a cloverleaf there is one alternative. Another would maybe be a signal on the westbound side in a deceleration lane, those kind of things, and a right turn only. One alternative would be a right turn only off of Martin Luther King, and then a J turn to go east. And that's one alternative. There's 3 or 4 alternatives, and the study will help determine which one's best. Now, there will be probably pushback from some organizations about putting any signals on 160 because it's a bypass. So.
That was Morris Boulevard 100 years ago.
Right. Right. So.
Well, you're saying that the city and the county and the school system are going to pay the 10%.
Correct.
Okay, so actually, we're paying 2/3 of it,
Correct.
because, I mean, we fund the schools, so. Can we get the city to go 50/50?
I tried to do that, yes, sir.
What I wanted to see on that 160, starting at Sulphur Springs onto 160. Starting at that intersection there, when that school was built, is put a 25-mile-an-hour speed limit sign, 4th school zone, till you pass Martin Luther King Boulevard. So that's something I want to make sure that is looked at also.
25 miles per hour from where to where?
From the Sulphur Springs to the Martin Luther King
Sulphur Springs on the north or south side?
north side.
North side.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor of this motion, make a motion by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, Mayor. Item 4C, resolution to adopt a representative redistricting plan for Hamlet County School Board. Jeff Gardner?
Just to cover C, D, and E, they're all the same. The school board, the road commission, and constable. All that is we're putting finishing touches on redistricting, and the way it operates is that Constable District 1 is made up of Commission District 1 and 2, and on down the line. So that affects the same on all three of these resolutions, and it's just to pass to send to the state resolutions that we have set the lines for where these individuals are running.
So it's just a procedural thing.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve C, D, and E.
There's a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor of this motion, make the motion by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Resolution to adopt a reappraisal planning commission for Hamlet County. That's E, okay, I'm sorry. I'll read that again. Chairman, that's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Chairman Goins. At this time, we would recognize Chairman Chris Cutshaw of the Building and Grounds Committee.
I'd like to call the Building Grounds Committee meeting to order. Is there anyone that would like to address the committee? You have 5 minutes to do so. Seeing no one, we'll move on to old business. There is none. Item 4A, campground regulations. Mayor, you want to start us off?
You will look in your packet and in the handouts handed out today, and I'll be referring to some of those. First is the graph, the line graph of the campground fees history since 2016. Second is the campground regulations, the proposed campground regulations, which have some some items in bold print. Those are the new regulations or restated regulations, if you'll. And then a document which has some development ideas for the park as well. And then we have two schedules for two spreadsheets for proposed rate fee changes. What Frank Parker and I are here for tonight is kind of responding to the conversation that the commission had last spring about the appearance of the park and that we needed to improve the appearance of the park. The discussion of long-term camping versus short-term camping, meaning camping of 14 days or less. And so over the last few weeks, Frank and I have been talking about that and with some of the committee and get your ideas on what we should be doing. First, I want to talk about, if you'll look at your line graph on the on the campground fee collections, I guess one thing that we as the administration want to protect as much as we can is the income that comes from the camping fees. Is over time, as you can tell from the graph, is that our camping fees have grown without a rate increase. Our rates have not increased since 2012, except a year ago when we added $15 on for the hotel motel tax, which is applicable to campgrounds. So you can, and so what this graph shows is the number of nights has grown over the last 5 years, and that's increased the camping fees collected, and that can be directly attributed to the long-term campers or campers who are there, some year-round, some keep their campers there year-round and aren't there but maybe on weekends, some who basically live there. So a different assortment of campers that we have, and so we've seen the growth of our camping fees. So we want to address the concerns and really the needs of the campground, but also preserve as much of this income as possible. And so we've approached this issue in three ways, kind of a three-prong approach. And one is add more regulations onto the campers and making sure that their campsite is clean and appealing, and it does not they're not storing a whole lot of items that don't need to be stored at a campsite. And so you can see under item number 3 on the campground regulations, the items that are in bold, short-term and long-term campers are expected to keep campsites neat and clean. Outside of campers, the outside of the campers, the actual camper, physical camper must be clean. Long-term campers will be expected to wash their campers a minimum of once a year. Campsites must be clear of trash and other debris. No items such as appliances or lawn care equipment or indoor furniture, wood pallets, inoperable camping equipment can be stored on the campsite. Vegetable, herb gardens cannot be grown on the campsite. Fencing is not allowed unless it's part of a porch or a deck. All vehicles, item number 4, all vehicles must be licensed and operable. Boat trailers, storage trailers must be parked in designated areas and not where the camper is. We have a designated area for that. And then also quality decks or decks that the camper has spent some money on. Porches and metal awnings, which we've been communicating to the camper verbally that if they install those items, they become county property. And so we're putting it in writing in the rules that the decks, the porches, the metal awnings installed on the campsite will be county property and must remain in the campground when they leave. Campers who damage park property, we have some issues with this, especially with the water spigots and damaging, running over those, or damage at the bathhouses. So campers who damage park property are responsible for paying for the repairs. Behavior causing the law enforcement to be called is grounds for eviction without a refund. And then all the enforcement of the rules and decisions to evict a camper is the sole discretion of the park manager. So those are the rules that we want to implement, that we will ask you to adopt. That's item number 1. Item number 2 is some ideas about, as far as the campground itself goes. The number of sites in the back campground, we right now have 46 hookup sites in the back campground. And hookup meaning that the camper has access to water and electricity. We do not have sewer in the Cherokee Park campground. We do have dump stations for the campers to use. We are hopeful that the grant that we will apply for through TDEC will be able to install sewer services in the campground with that grant. So the number of campsites in the back campground will be reduced from 46 to 35. That's at order of the health department to create 20-foot space between campers. And so we would realign the campsites in the back campground to make sure that we are 20 feet apart. The pads are 20 feet apart, and so that would reduce the number of campsites from 46 to 35. 6 of the current campsites in the back campground would become short stay, no longer than 14-day rentals for campers to try to meet the demand and the request for short-term campers. And so we would have 6 of the current sites in the back and 1 in the front that we're converting a site, primitive site, thank you. A primitive site which has no hookups. We're going to add water and electricity to a site which it's just right up the hill from the lake. It'll be a prime site. We're going to make it a 14-day site as well. And then also, as part of that grant that we're applying for, which would make, we've talked about it, you guys gave us the permission to apply for the grant. One component of it will be to build 10 new campsites on its, if you're on the road going down toward the marina, it would be on the left. And it would be in that wooded area on the left where right now we have disc golf hole, I think, number 11 or 12. And so we'd have to relocate that, but that is an area that would require less grading and the campers would be located right in between the lake and then other amenities we have as far as the splash pad, the playground, and the disc golf course. So those are the 3 things that we would do to help improve or 2 things, the campground and then these changes, the campground regulations and these changes. And then finally is we're proposing an increase in fees for both camping and the pavilion. We have not increased the fees, like I said, for camping since 2012. So you can see on the spreadsheet that the daily and weekly rates, daily rate would go from $20 a day for a hookup site to $25. For a week's time, it'd go $95 to $125. Primitive site goes stays at actually a primitive site, I've got that wrong, would go to $20 instead of $15. So if you correct that, and then your prime lake access would go from $25 to $35 a day. The long term, the monthly rate, if you look on the far right, for the hookup sites would go for those who stay over 8 nights a month. And those generally are not your weekend campers. The rate will go from $315 to $400. For the weekend campers, it would go from $265 to $300. For primitive site, there is no month. We don't rent those for a month at a time. And then the prime lake access site would go to for 8 days or more would go to $450 from $365, and for the weekenders it would go from $315 to $350. And then we do have some campers who they store their camper at the campground in a campsite during the winter. and we charge them 150, well, it's going from 115 to 150 a month. And those campers are disconnected from water and electricity, and basically they're renting a piece of ground. But those are the three items that we're asking you to consider to help improve the appearance, help address the short-term camper and the long-term camper, and hopefully address your concerns. Questions?
Mayor, you know, it's imperative that we look at some of this. We've had outcry from the public to do something with Cherokee Park, and in talking with you and Frank there, you know, I think we've got some things coming. But in that, this revenue loss from going from the 35 or 46 down to 35, because of this fee structure, that should maybe even be neutral.
It should be close.
Yeah,
Close to
okay.
neutral.
And do we recall how many 14-day sites total that will be if we get that grant?
15.
15 total. 15 total. On those size of decks, you know, you were talking about decks and walking through and riding through, you know, some of those decks are outrageous. Is that something that needs to be addressed?
The size of the decks, yes, and we have not addressed that in these rules.
Well, does that need to be added?
Yes, we'll add it between now and commission meeting and.
Okay, and in that vein, what about decks, carports, awnings that are freestanding, you know, they become county, property of the county if they were to leave?
Yes.
So is that something that we need to address as a contract when they do their full, is that something we need to do, or is that just understood?
It's in the contract.
It is what we're proposing there, Chris. Each camper, it'll be in those policies and procedures that every camper has to sign.
Okay, that's it. And,
on the size of your deck, we're going to have to determine that by the size of the camper.
okay,
Because, you know, you got a 20-foot camper and then you got a 40-foot. So we'll have to determine that somewhat.
You may have to have a range.
what about, of all these campsites that we have that are permanent sites that are year-round, do we know how many are actually full-time that live there?
Actually live there now.
Yes.
Well,
I'm not gonna hold you to it, just,
Okay,
yeah.
okay. Well, you got 16 sites up front, in the front of the campground. You got one person that stays there. In the back, you got 46 sites and probably 30 of them is 25 to 30 are back there right now. And I'd say, 15 to 20 of them stay there.
Okay,
So in total, you probably got right around 20.
got you.
total.
So in all this discussion that's been going on, they're aware of this,
Increase,
yes, that's coming, and,
yes, and you're gonna lose some.
yeah,
And that's fine.
yeah. Well, we just wanna clean it up. We all know it's Cherokee Park's a gem for the county, and I'd love to see it, reflect that, so,
I'm with you on that.
yeah, I know you are, Frank.
Frank, whenever you said, full-time, you said there were about 20. Is that actually living there, or the ones that are paying the rent for full-time?
They're actually staying there, around 20 or 21.
How many are paying full-time? That, you know, because we talked about that, and some of them never show up, but they're still paying.
Man, you're up above 30. That's, you know, because I've got campers out there that I've got 4 or 5 up front
Yeah.
that I've not seen the people in 2 or 3 years. But they make that payment every month. And all they're paying for really is a piece of dirt, because everything's unhooked, there's no water, no power. But that's them, that's not me, you know, if they want to give the county that money.
Sure.
Are they paying the full scale,
Yes.
full price?
Yes, sir.
One thing that's not, I didn't see it here anyways, is you might want to mention, especially in your regulation, is quiet time. Because I know for a fact you can have some issues with quiet time.
It's in the existing.
Is it in there?
Now, I may have left it out.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, it's 12 o'clock, after 12 o'clock at night. And, you know, on some holidays and stuff, you know,
Yeah,
Fourth of July and stuff like that.
understand.
It goes, affect what you go. And the reason we don't allow fireworks in the park except for the 4th of July, there was a incident that happened like 15 years ago. One of the kids had a Roman candle and they shot one through the camper and caught the camper. So we had to
That's not fair.
Any other discussion? On these regulations, do we, yes.
There's two votes that
Yes, yes, sir.
separate
Yeah.
the
Sep-
regulations to be one.
Okay. Okay, now, on that regulations though, I mean, do we need to go
It's not
ahead
funny, but it's kinda
and,
funny.
and pass what we have
I'm
and
mean
add to
spirited.
about the decks at another time?
Well, we can,
Well, the problem I think you're gonna have is, you know, if someone comes in with a 40-foot camper, okay, your camper's this, or your deck size could be this, your could be this. I think where you need to read that is like no larger than 20 feet, 10 feet, 5 feet, whatever.
You're right,
You know,
you're right.
because you're gonna have complaints, people, well, he got a 20-foot, when I can only have a 10-foot, you know, you have issues. No larger than. Yeah.
A square footage or a length?
So would it be 8 by 20 or
Yeah.
6 by 20 or?
I'd probably say 8 by 20 because the board's 8 foot long and 20 foot, you know.
One quick question. The health department's saying the 20 feet separation between, is that going to include add-on structures? And if so, is that going to
No,
increase the width?
it's just the width between the campers.
Okay.
It's got nothing to do with the deck.
Add-on structures.
But the majority of the people out there have only got a small porch.
Yeah, right.
The ones that's built that real quality deck, you know, they're pretty good size and they're Hamlet County product.
Okay, let me ask you this now. We, whatever size we decide, someone's got an existing deck out there that doesn't meet those rules. Do we grandfather them in?
that would be our recommendation.
I think so, yes. Yeah.
Even though there's one out there right now, but cut down.
Would there be any specs on the material? What you can build a deck out of?
Yes.
I mean, you don't want wrought iron and then pallets on the other side, you know?
No, you don't want a deck built out of pallets. They're going to have to
Quality, yeah.
some part of the quality that, you know, because you'll run into the same problem we got now. And on those 10 extra campsites that you're planning on, if we get the grant, we or the county may just want to go ahead and put a deck there, you know, to a certain side, and just leave them there, period, all the time, because that's gonna be the 14-day limit. And we don't have to put nothing extravagant, just a small porch. Because the majority of the campers out there, especially like up front, they've got to have something to step out of.
Right.
Because it's like this, and it's straight off when they come out of the camp.
We had also discussed maybe concrete pads.
Yes. That's something,
In the lake
if
when
we
you
get
know it.
that grant, like when we reduce our campsites in the back, where the campers are actually there, is pouring a concrete pad for each camper, if we get that grant.
So Mayor, go ahead and pass this on to the commission or put it up for vote and add the other regulations.
We'll have them next week on the deck size and on the quiet time. I just left out the quiet time. We've got that in place right now.
Okay.
So
So-
I'll add those.
So do we have a motion to
So
pass
moved.
this on? Thank you, sir. Second?
Second.
Mr. Horner? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Yes, sir. Item 4B, the campground rental rates and pavilion rental rates, as the mayor discussed. We see those changes on the spreadsheet. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you all. All in favor? All right, wait a minute, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
That's all I have, Chairman.
Thank you, Chairman Cutshaw. At this time, Chairman Tim Harner of the Justice Center Jail Project Committee, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I will call the Justice Center Jail Project Committee to order. If there's anyone who wishes to address this committee, may do so at this time. You're allowed 5 minutes.
My name is Linda Noe, Joe Stevens Road. You have, of course, you're discussing the Blaine Construction Company contract that you approved last month, and in which and by which you intentionally, purposely, and without due diligence, without any diligence, wasted 30 million tax dollars. It doesn't matter what wonderful rate you got, you're paying out $30 million that you didn't have to spend, you didn't have to approve. In fact, even if, looking at the motion that Mr. Horner had made, all you had approved was entering into negotiations with Blaine. But that didn't matter. You don't even do what you pass. In fact, Mr. Shipley, you or asked him to read that motion twice. And that's exactly what he said. And you didn't do it. The other item is the Hale House. I assume maybe you've been passed out something today. The opening took place on Thursday. Came in at $551,000, plus another $21,000 if you want to paint the upstairs. And that's not a new roof. That's just new windows and new electrical. One bidder. And I don't know if you would have had that one bidder if I hadn't been there, because the one bidder was sitting in the West Wing conference room where the bids were supposed to be opened. I came in and asked him, is anybody here? He said he hadn't seen anybody. And it was getting close to 2 o'clock. You have to have your bid stamped by 2 o'clock in order to have it opened. So I went down and got Jonna, and she came up there and thanked me. And I appreciate that. About the first time I've been thanked for being at a bid opening. One bid. Third bidding, and you get one bid. You have serious problems in your procurement. Serious problems. Thank you.
Anyone else wish to address?
Edna Green, 4981 Cameron Road, Morristown. My question is in regard to the Hale House. I was sitting here, you say that Vince passed it to take care of the electrical. I was sitting here when Commissioner Neesmith questioned about ADA ready for everything else. That's not even included in that so far, I'm assuming, at this point. So how much more money are you willing to waste of our money? Not your money, our money. Now, you might not like my attitude, but I'm just one of many that question how you vote and how you spend money. You voted for things that there is no way you could justify it. Some of you are very smart, intelligent people. Some of you, I have my doubts of for the way you've voted and the way you've done. I don't mean to insult you, I'm just being polite. Mr. Doty, my apologies for your dad. I apologize, I had not gotten to you. You folks need to wake up. You've done buried us in a $103 million debt that most citizens will not be able to pay that are drawing Social Security. And that's only the beginning of the woes. You keep having more expenditures like the Hell House. Unless the mayor is printing money in his office, please wake up and smell the coffee. You have 4 commissioners in here that I am outstandingly proud of, and I want to take the time tonight to thank you for your due diligence. Thank you for the backbone that you've exhibited. Thank you for standing up for us little peons out here that evidently don't matter to some of you. I won't call you by name tonight, but I think you all know exactly who you are. And for the other 10, God help you, because I don't understand you. I hope he's a lot more merciful than I would be. But you have put your neighbors in danger tonight. You put people that are trying to raise grandchildren on Social Security in danger of losing those homes. For the 10 of you that voted for the $103 million Finasco, my sympathies to you. I wouldn't swap shoes for you for nothing tonight. I have always tried to spend my company's money wisely. And if any of you in here would spend your money the way that you've wasted the taxpayers' money, shame on you. For you that have stood up for accountability, thank you. From the bottom of my heart, you've exhibited professionalism, ethics, accountability, and transparency. But some of you, I have not seen any of this out of. You may have a banking experience, you may have finance experience, but I don't know where it's at. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Yes, Mr. Horner. A commissioner a while ago mentioned something about having to get something done because there was a public outcry. What about our public outcry over this jail? You didn't listen to that.
Anyone else?
My name is Tony Strazullo. So, a few weeks ago, you all passed this new jail. A few of us have came up here and have addressed Tim Horner directly in regards to the way it was written and originally agreed and voted on to discuss negotiations. I think you all should sit down in this room and discuss with a very important person on documents that he has falsified. I have evidence of that. You all want to be sleepy on this bench. I told you this 2 weeks ago. And it's enough to stop this contract. This contract is null and void. You guys don't understand that. I told you this. And if I was allowed to go in front of the grand jury when I was supposed to go, you all would know this, and we'd be taking care of this now. But because they don't know their own laws, their own rules, and how things work, we're sitting here. I'm telling you face to face, there's an issue. This contract is null and void. There's falsified documents. I have those as evidence. It will be presented. There's others on this board, too, that know about this information, and you all will be dealt with as well in the investigation. This is important. This isn't BS. You can put on your Facebook that I ain't got facts, but everything I got is nothing but facts. Understand that. I don't come in here and say what I say. I don't put stuff on the internet just to put stuff on there. I have facts. Not every video is up. Not every video is listed. Why? Because nothing that I've done since I started this has been everything to gather information and to show the pattern of every employee of the government in the Lakeway area, including you all sitting here. It's a pattern. It shows the pattern. And that's what I do. I'm showing a pattern. Because when I bring this to court, it's going to be easy to show from when I started recording back in January to here in December, the pattern of the past 9 months, 10 months of your all's actions and the actions of other government employees. This is important. Listen to this. Don't take this with a grain of salt. This is extreme. That contract is null and void. In January, I will get to go in front of the grand jury. You all need to start figuring it out now. Listen to the people that are sitting here. Don't plug your ears. This is important.
Anyone else?
I never wanted jail. They didn't take care of the one they had in the first place. And I feel like they won't take care of the one that they're gonna get now. So, you know, I don't even know why we're building a jail. Why we're building the justice centers. I know we don't need those. I think it's just so we can look big. And I've lived in this town all my life. And I know the high-minded people and the low-minded people. Don't know them personally, don't really want to. But you know what? I'm a strong believer in be sure your sins will find you out. I may not know everything you do behind the scenes, but he does. And he's going to take care of it. Because I got faith in him. Not you all. Him. So I'm going to sit back. I'm not going to laugh at it because it's sad. And watch what happens. Because y'all have been warned. Y'all have been told. Hey, you need to do the right thing.
Anyone else? If not, we'll move to old business. There is none. New business. Item 4A, Blaine Construction Company contract and 10 million bond issue update. County Mayor.
Just a real quick update on where we are. The contract with Blaine has been signed and executed, and so we're getting them the information they need to get started and making sure that all the I's are dotted and T's are crossed. The notice to proceed will be issued sometime this week. So, on the bond issue, we issued $10 million worth of bonds last week as part of the financing plan. The true interest rate that we received on those bonds was 1.95%. We had budgeted about 2.75% in the finance plan, so very pleased with the interest rates that we got. And these were 30-year bonds, and they sold at a premium of about $600,000. I guess the bottom line of all those numbers is that because of the low interest rate, our payments that we had budgeted will be $48,000 less than what we budgeted. So if that continues in the next couple of bond issues that we have, the spring one and the fall one, then the scenario that I described to you when I presented the financing plan about us not having any capacity to handle any additional debt if something came up, we will have some capacity. So if the interest rates continue to come in under budget. So I guess bottom line is the contract is signed. We are conversing with Blaine, and they'll be given a notice to proceed this week, and they'll also give us their schedule for the next 60 days. And then the bond issue went very well. The closing for that is next week.
Any questions? Okay, thank you. Item 4B, Special Inspections and Material Testing Service Agreement. Tony Pettit, Burwell.
End of March, we went and solicited.
We don't have to vote on it.
County inspections and construction inspections, excuse me. And so we received 5 bids. You took action on that, told us to negotiate with Geo Services around 1st of May, somewhere right in there. And then we got we haven't done that yet because we regrouped, rebid the project. But right now, we have confirmed with Geo Services, who was graded the most qualified out of the 5, and we negotiated with them. So they submitted the service agreement, and I checked, to make sure it's still up to date, and he verified, the gentleman with Geo Services, Ross Kingery, verified that it was still up to date. So, I'm recommending approval of service agreement in the amount of $60,000 for Geo Services. Any questions?
Any discussion?
Mayor, Mayor, that money had already been allocated, is that correct?
I'm sorry, I
Yes.
was supposed to read that. I did not. It is allocated in our project budget.
Yeah, it's nothing, no new item here, nothing like that.
We need a motion. Do I hear a motion to?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item 4C, bid tabulation on the Hale House renovations.
In your packet is the bid tab from the bids we opened last Tuesday for the Hale House renovation. It is the third time we bid this. The previous bids were in the 220 to 225 range. And so we went back this time and changed the scope a little bit, took the county doing some of the work. And the biggest change in the scope was that we spec new windows instead of reglazed windows. And what we're doing right now is we were surprised with the bid, of course, and at $551,800. And is where having the architect talk to the contractor and see if there's any adjustments that can be made. We're also going to look at a price for glazing the windows instead of buying new windows, see how much difference that will make. But we don't have a recommendation right now on this. So this is just a matter of information for now, and we'll hopefully I'll have some more information for you next week. Any questions?
So we don't need to vote on this right now, right? No.
No, I'm not
But-
asking you
but-
to.
Table it? Okay.
You're going to you're going to have the information this week before the commission meeting? So
Yeah,
it
yes.
needs to be put on the agenda?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, just in
Uh,
case.
What all was included in this bid?
It was the ADA ramp, the ADA bathroom, rewiring the whole house, new windows, painting the roof, painting some of the inside and some of the outside that had deteriorated,
Okay. Did you say a new roof?
painting the roof.
Painting?
Painting the
Okay,
roof.
good, I'm sorry. Good. I didn't understand.
Is that a
So-
metal, does that have a metal roof?
It does.
Mayor, how many square feet is that building?
I don't know.
Can you get that for us, Bud? Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we put the item on the agenda.
I have a motion to put it on the agenda. Do I
I'll
hear a
second that.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Chairman Horner. This time, Chairman Stepp of the Calendar and Rules Committee, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chairman. Call to order the Calendar and Rules Committee. Anyone wishing to address this meeting, you do so at this time. You have 5 minutes.
My name is Tony Strazullo. So I want to know when's the next meeting that we're going to have that we're going to talk about the rules. Do we have that information yet? Has that been in the planning? Because 2 weeks ago, Sheriff was up there reading the whole list of what our rules are. And part of those rules were not to be talking amongst ourselves, and that was for both sides. But I've heard talking on this other side over here most of the evening, especially from you, Bobby. So
That's
we
Mr.
need
Hahn
to
when
go
you
ahead-
address me.
No, it's Bobby.
No, it's not.
Bob. So if
Mr. Zagini, I
we need to
appreciate
go
your
ahead
concern on that
and
part.
Point of order.
That's not on
Language
this,
stuff again.
agenda.
You're not on, what you're talking about is not on the agenda.
I want to know when the next one is.
Well,
we keep having this every
It's-
other week.
But
we
it's
have
not
this same
on the
thing.
agenda of this particular item,
What do
so
you-
you're out of order.
Rules. It's the agenda. It's the rules.
You look at the items of business is the review of the regular calendar and the review of the consent calendar. You address your remarks on the regular calendar and the consent calendar, not on the rules.
But this is part of the rules board. We're talking about the
sorry.
rules.
It's not on the agenda tonight. Rules are not on the agenda.
So then he shouldn't even have his speak. He should have just
No.
skipped right on over him. You gave the public a chance to come up here for 5 minutes today and speak
To
in regards
address
to
the
this. And that's
items
what
that
I'm
are
doing.
on the agenda. To address the items that are on the agenda.
Where is rules on the agenda, period, other than when it comes into focus?
It's not on tonight's agenda.
So it doesn't exist ever. So why did you give
Well, it
5 minutes for the public to come up and speak if you don't want to hear my voice for 5 minutes?
We give you 5 minutes to address the regular calendar items and the consent calendar items. That's what your 5 minutes are for. So otherwise, you're out of order.
Whatever. We'll address this in the next time.
Anyone else?
What I want to say is, they were talking about the park, and they're gonna have new, sewer. They're gonna have to run sewer. They're gonna get sewer. They don't have sewer at the park. So what I wanna know is, are they gonna charge them double rates like they charge the county? Just wondering. I mean, it's only fair that if they do us, they need to do them.
Sewer's not part of it.
Thank you. Anyone else want to address the committee? If not, item 3A, there's no old business. 4A, review of regular calendar items. Anyone make a motion?
Motion to approve.
Have a motion, have a second?
Second.
Have a second. Any discussion?
Who seconded?
Tim Warner. Commissioner Warner, I'm sorry. If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Item 4B, review of consent calendar items. Do I have a motion to approve this?
Motion.
Got a second. Any discussion? If not, all approve say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. That's all I have, Chairman.
Thank you, Chairman Sapp. I want to just quickly call your attention to the employees' Christmas breakfast, which is this Thursday from 6:30 a.m. to 9 a.m. at Prater Hall, so don't forget that. I also want to share a telephone call that I received this afternoon because we seldom receive phone calls like this, but I had a citizen of the county who called me to compliment Sharon Elkins, the secretary at the Highway Department, sharing with me how nice and kind she was to him when he called regarding the issue that he had to share. So we've got a lot of employees in the county that deserve compliments, but I just want to call your attention that a citizen complimented her for her nice attitude in taking his phone call. We stand adjourned.